In this video, we'll discuss the Corona content area and how to design an app for multiple device screen resolutions. These days, mobile devices come in a wide variety of screen aspect ratios and resolutions. From the wide iPad to the tall iPhone 5 to nearly countless Android-powered devices, you can't predict which screen aspect ratio and resolution your app will be used on. Fortunately, Corona SDK simplifies your life with support for all aspect ratios and resolutions. One of the core concepts of Corona SDK is the content area. If you look at an iPhone 5 versus an iPad, you can clearly see that the iPhone screen is much taller and more narrow than the iPad in proportional shape. Instead of designing two separate app code bases to handle both of these popular devices, Corona lets you utilize a common content area. In Corona, no matter the physical size or resolution of the device screen, the content area can be considered as an imaginary rectangle of content that is positioned on the screen. You can align this rectangular area and specify whether it should overflow the screen, remain trimmed to the screen, or stretch to fit the screen. More on this in a bit. The content area in Corona, along with many other things, is defined in the config.lua file. This file is an essential aspect of any Corona project, so you should become accustomed to using it. To begin, just create a new file named config.lua and save it in the root project directory. Inside that file, start by creating a Lua table called application with another table inside called content. This is where we place all of the content related parameters. Next, you must specify the width and height of the content area. This base content area can be whatever you wish, but often it's defined as a common screen resolution. For example, 640 by 960 for iPhone 4 or 800 by 1280 for Kindle Fire HD. It's important to note that these values are not necessarily pixels, although many developers specify a content area size that matches the screen resolution on a popular device they wish to target. Regardless of the size you define, the content area will actually scale up or down to accommodate smaller or larger physical screen sizes. Another important note is that the width and height values are always defined in respect to the portrait orientation. Even if you are designing an app targeted for landscape orientation, you must specify the width as the short side and the height as the long side. Corona can easily handle different app orientations, portrait versus landscape, but that topic will be saved for another tutorial. The next essential aspect for the content area is the scale setting. As we mentioned, Corona will automatically scale the content area to fit different screen aspect ratios. However, you must define how this scaling occurs. Corona offers three possible scale options: letterbox, zoomEven, and zoomStretch. Letterbox scales the content area to fill the screen while preserving the same aspect ratio. The entire content area will reside on the screen, but this might result in black bars on devices with aspect ratios that differ from your content aspect ratio. zoomEven scales the content area to fill the screen while preserving the same aspect ratio. Some content may bleed off the screen edges on devices with aspect ratios that differ from your content aspect ratio. zoomStretch scales the content area to fill the entire screen. All content will remain on the screen, but it may be stretched horizontally or vertically. This mode is not recommended as it will often distort the content area. Once you determine the desired scale setting for your app, simply specify it in the config.lua file under the scale parameter. By default, the content area is centered on the screen. In letterbox scale mode, empty screen area will be evenly divided between both sides. In zoomEven mode, the bleed area will be cropped evenly on both sides. If you need to align the content area to a particular edge of the screen, you can use the X-align and Y-align values. X-align is a string value which sets the alignment in the X direction. Possible values are left, center, and right. Y-align is a string value that sets the alignment in the Y direction. Possible values are top, center, or bottom. As stated before, the content area is not necessarily pixel dimensions. Depending on the scale you use, the content area will scale to fit whatever device you run the app on, so you only need to design one code base to span many devices. Additionally, the internal coordinate system is based on the content area with coordinates 0, 0 residing in the top left corner of the content area, not necessarily in the top left corner of the screen. What does this mean? When you position an object like an image or text, you simply position it according to the content area, and Corona will adjust it accordingly on different screens. Lastly, the content area also affects dynamic image selection, where you can tell Corona to automatically select higher or lower resolution images depending on the device resolution. This topic will be discussed in a future video. In the meantime, familiarize yourself with the content area and experiment with the different settings. Because the content area is so essential to developing in Corona SDK, you should become very comfortable with its usage before proceeding. And that's a look at how to work with the content area in Corona SDK. Learn more about working with Corona SDK at www.coronalabs.com/university.